All right, I want to bring in jury consultant Robert Swafford and still with us, criminal defense attorney Meg Strickler. Robert, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Truly appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
All right, I want to start off. We got two cases here. We got Arbery and we have Rittenhouse. I consider them similar and different in a number of ways. I want to start off with Rittenhouse. In many ways, it's a law and order type case. These young guys, they go down there, they want to take the law into their own hands. They're almost deputized by the police. That's something that this defense team wants to get in front of this jury. So I would think with that in mind, there's a particular type of juror that they would want to hear that evidence. What say you?
So the first thing to remember whenever you're talking about jury selection is that that's a misnomer. It's not about selecting a jury, it's deselection. And so this whole process is getting rid of people and trying to hold on to people who are good for you. But the initial part of the process is getting people who are struck for cause. So when you're walking into a case like this, either as a defense lawyer or as a prosecutor, you're trying to think to yourself, okay, who is the worst juror for me? And how do I get rid of them?
Now, is that in terms of you're doing your best to figure out a way to get them sent out for cause, or are you just trying to figure out whether this person, because again, you get a general sense of who they are, then you get to dig a little deeper with your individual voir dire. Are you then trying to get them to say something that could perhaps allow this court to get rid of them for cause as opposed to using one of your precious strikes?
Well, the name of my business is Strike for Cause, so I'm very focused on that. So the thing about Strike for Cause is that you have an unlimited number of strikes for cause. You have a limited number of peremptory strikes. So if you can get people to say, I can't be fair, I can't follow the law, I can't follow the judge's instructions, I've already made up my mind as to how this case is going to come out, and no one's going to change that. If you can get someone to say something similar to that, then you don't have to use one of your peremptory strikes. And on the other hand, if you're the lawyer who's trying to hold on to someone and you can question them in such a way that you say to him, well, but you could be fair, you could follow the law, you could follow the judge's instructions. So that's that is the chess match that's going on. And it requires a very high level of skill to get someone to say, I can't be fair, I can't follow the law, I can't follow the judge's instructions, because human beings are wired to look good and avoid looking bad. And sort of the more technical term of that is people want to give socially desirable answers in front of their neighbors.
Yeah, and I think Meg Strickler, Robert makes a great point, because I think one of the reasons the judge didn't want cameras in that individual voir dire is for that very reason, because people do want to please. And I think it sort of makes it more difficult, or at least in their mind, makes it more difficult for them to do that if cameras are in there. Now, Robert, in terms of Arbery, that's a case that it's in a smallish community. We actually heard already a couple of jurors say things like, well, we in this community do X, Y, and Z, et cetera, et cetera. Are there special challenges when you're dealing with a situation where it is a small community? People tend to know each other. We've seen a lot of that as well. Is there some special way you go about trying to deal with those jurors? Because obviously, they have a similar mindset, they grew up in similar circumstances, and there could be some influencing going on.
Well, here's what I would say is that, I picked lots of juries in major metropolitan areas, but also in many small towns. And I would say that it takes a higher level of skill to get someone in a small town to really express their biases and prejudice and tell what actually is going on. Than you would in a metropolitan area where things feel a little bit more anonymous. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting in this particular situation, though, is that you have about 70% of the county is white and about 30% is African American, and you also have about 70% of the county are voted for Trump and 30% voted for Biden. And so whenever you say, well, people have had similar experiences, I would say that people had very different lived experiences in that county based on what your life experience was, and frankly, because of your race.
That's interesting. And, quickly, because we're going to run out of time here, I believe the Arbery case is one of those cases that I know there's a video involved, and that's another similarity between Arbery and Rittenhouse. But I think Arbery is going to come down to a reading and an understanding of the law. Is there a particular type of juror you look for there? Is there something different about jurors when you know that this is going to be a case that we want them to understand the law in the way that we want them to understand it, as opposed to the way perhaps the state or prosecution does?
Well, I believe that people make decisions based on how they feel about things and their worldviews, with some combination of the law and facts. But they make a decision based on how they feel about something, and then they go back and justify it afterwards. And so, regardless of how sophisticated someone is, they just have more sophistication in justifying a decision either with the law or with the facts that was already made. If you're somebody who walks around the world saying, "I'm afraid of the world because of all the changes that are happening in society," you're going to have a particular filter that is basically immune to facts. And if you walk around the world saying that, listen, it's a scary place because there are nut jobs out there with guns, able to be untrained but still unleashed, then you're going to have a different view. So I really don't believe that is the most important thing. The most important thing is the filter and the world and life experience that the jurors are bringing with them.